Hi, I'm making this video after school because I just sent some kids home with a little extra homework tonight to work on to prepare for tomorrow's writing assignment. So bear with me. Also, I'm standing here alone in my classroom while they're calling bus dismissal. So if you hear that awful loud noise come on, I'll stop talking, but that's just happening. I can't do anything about it in here. So first of all, they have a writing assignment tomorrow where they're supposed to write a 5-paragraph essay. Hold on just a second. Sorry.
So we're loading 8 and 2.
So we're going to be writing a 5-paragraph essay. That's what these lines represent, are 5 paragraphs. Okay, so this is obviously the introduction. Sorry, I'm writing while I'm making this video. That one's the intro. The last one is the conclusion. They received some other papers that support this, but I just want you guys to know that this is all. In the introduction, we put first, we have our hook or an attention getter. And then we provide any background info that our readers might need to understand what we're talking about. So first we have the hook, we have background info, and last we have our chicken foot thesis statement, which I'll explain in detail in a second. So these are our body paragraphs, our 3 in the middle. This is body 1, 2, and 3, okay? So these are each of the, basically the leg or the toes of the chicken foot. And then finally we'll have a conclusion where we'll also restate our thesis again and maybe concede or kind of restate everything. This is what I've talked about, and while other people might think this, I think it's this. That's what our conclusion is more about. So, I mean, lots of us have had like English classes in high school and stuff where we write thesis statements, but this kind of makes it simple for kids to learn. So what we've been learning in social studies basically is what makes a civilization a civilization. And their prompt question is actually what makes a society be considered as civilized? And we would like them to write an essay talking about 3 main points. So over the past few weeks, we've talked about all of these things in my thought bubble. These are things we can think about that what makes a civilization civilized, okay? We've got taxes, a system of tribute. We've got surplus food. We've got centralized government, economy, education, centralized religious beliefs, arts, planned infrastructure, that's any buildings, any structures that are built, system of trade, agriculture, and there's some others, but these are the main ones we've talked about. Today for this assignment or tomorrow for this assignment, we're making them choose which ones. We're telling them which opinion to have just to learn to write this kind of essay. So we're choosing system of trade, planned infrastructure, and centralized government. They should know that. That's not a problem. So we're using these 3 things to structure our body paragraphs from. So one of our body paragraphs is going to be about system of trade. One is going to be about planned infrastructure, and the third body paragraph is going to be about centralized government. So to introduce chicken foot, we use this shape. Hold on.
I send me bus 3, and teachers, after you send your bus 3, walk your other bus up and sit them in the gym lobby. We're going to take bus 3 out here and then sit the other one
Hopefully
in the
this
gym
is the last
lobby.
announcement that'll interrupt us. There might be one more, but I think that's about it. All right, so we introduced the chicken foot, which is a way to write a thesis. So we also use something called Racer in class, which is kind of how you organize written projects. So for R, that means restate the question in your answer. You have to answer the question that's being asked of you. You restate the question, like, what is your favorite color? You would restate it by saying your answer is, my favorite color is blue, as opposed to just answering with blue. So we've restated, we're gonna answer, we're gonna cite documents which the kids have been given.
Ms. Waller,
Nope, this is Miss Atkins' room. Sorry.
Oh, I do it all the time. Sorry.
Okay, sorry guys. So we're gonna cite, and then we're gonna explain what that citation has to do with our answer. And then to close, we're gonna say, restate the question again. So when we do that, keeping this in mind, we might do, these generally go in order, but sometimes it goes restate, answer, cite, explain, and then we'll cite something else and explain it, and then we'll cite something else and explain it, and that's kind of what we're gonna do with this before we restate for our conclusion. This also helps you build pretty strong paragraphs as well. Okay, to back up, the thesis is basically a topic statement. So I'm gonna restate my question. What makes a civilization or society be considered quote civilized? We would then answer with a civilization or society is considered civilized based on these three things. 1, 2, 3, and we put those as our toes of the chicken foot. We have planned infrastructure, centralized government, and trade. So this structure of the sentence is important because we'll use it later. That's a big thesis. This whole thing together is your thesis. You're saying it's those three things. You're not saying it's this, you're not saying it's this, you're not saying it's this. You're answering this question with those three. We also have something called a baby thesis. There are going to be 3 baby theses or theses. That's basically this part and one of the toes. So there's that baby thesis, this baby thesis, and this baby thesis. So a civilization is, or a society is considered a civilization, because of planned infrastructure. And then you'd cite and explain. A society is considered a civilization because of centralized government, and that's this one. And then a society is considered a civilization based on the third thing, which is trade. So you kind of stretch these out into, these are basically the topic sentences for each of your body paragraphs. So in your body, you'd have baby thesis 1, baby thesis 2, and then baby thesis 3. So we're saying it's going to be,
Miss Paulette, call the office, please. Miss Paulette.
we're calling it first, we're going with planned infrastructure. I'm sorry, this video is so messy. Then we're going to centralized government. And then the last one we're going to say is trade. So when I put these 3 pieces together, it makes my whole chicken foot. So that's how my body paragraph is split up. For this part, we're going to use the same sentence, which is basically your topic sentence. A civilization or society is considered civilized when you consider this. Say it again, when you consider this. So for each of these 3 circles, you just write this. A civilization or society is considered civilized when you look at, analyze, consider, think about, however you want to word that, when you think about blank. So this statement goes here, here, and here. You just fill in the blank with when you think about planned infrastructure, when you think about centralized government, and when you think about trade. So that same thing goes 3 times. I'll try to make that line clear. It just kind of makes it easy when they're filling it in. And then what you do afterwards for each of the body paragraphs is you cite your document and explain what it has to do. So this is basically restating and answering, citing and explain. So restating and answering, citing, explain, and then you can restate it again if you want to, but you can save that for the conclusion. So again, you're gonna cite, explain. And then again, cite, explain. However many sentences you need to do that is fine. So you start with your hook, your background info, and then you state your whole thesis, which is this whole chicken foot. A civilization or society is considered civilized based on these three things: planned infrastructure, comma, centralized government, comma, and trade, period. And that's your first paragraph. And you can start this one because it's the first on the list of three. First, comma, a civilization or society is considered civilized when you think about its planned infrastructure. Boom. Then you can say second. Maybe you're the kind of person that wants to say then or next, comma. Same phrase, a civilization or society is considered civilized when you think about centralized government. Cite and explain, cite and explain. After you put this, you have to cite and explain it before moving on to the next paragraph. Last one, a civilization or society is considered civilized when you think about trade. For example, in the text or in document B, I see a picture of this. That's my citation. My explanation would then be, this makes me think about trade or centralized government or whatever you're talking about because, and then they can explain it in their own words. So we have first this, the second, or then this. You can say third or lastly, as it's your third and last point. Just put that there, cite and explain it. And then conclusion, you need to somehow find a way to wrap it up. You can restate. You need to talk about the things you've already talked about. Maybe you concede a little bit, meaning you say, some people might think it's agriculture and education, but I know it's these three because blah, 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 however you want to say it. That was a super rushed, a super fast way to describe what we're doing in class. Hopefully that gives you guys a little clarity. You're going to see chicken foot and you're going to see roadmap. The word roadmap just means chicken foot. Some people think of this as a roadmap and I look at it and see chicken foot. And then you're going to see wrinkle maybe in conclusion. That would be like a concession. While I understand why you would think it's this, it's actually this. So while you're giving the other arguments that could be made, some validity, you're making yours even more valid. But make sure you list what your thesis is again. That's my video. Thanks for listening. Sorry that took, Lord, almost 13 minutes to make. Thanks so much.